Good morning, Year 10 students. So you guys should be heading into your subject selection very soon, and you might be considering the subject of business studies. So this is a course that runs from preliminary, so that's your Year 11 course, and it goes all the way to your HSC. So yes, it is an ATAR subject, so you can have an ATAR mark at the end of the course. And I'm just here to give you a quick snippet of what the subject's about. So I'm very passionate about business studies. I think it's relevant throughout your life, even if you choose not to seek a business-based career. But every time I talk about business studies, I always tell my students, think backwards. So to consider what they want in the future, so to consider their career in the future, and then think about why business studies is relevant to their future. So, for example, if you are ever considering the career of being an accountant, an auditor, a broker, a business advisor, or any of these things, now I was a human resource manager once, then you would want to consider business studies. So, for example, if you don't know what an accountant is, so I have a few friends that are accountants. They are basically in charge of recording a business's financial statements. So you guys know how your parents might be reporting their income for the year at the end of the financial year. That is up to an accountant to keep or to work out and keep neat all of your records and report it to the ATO. So that's what an accountant does, right? It's more about recording financial statements. Now, auditor is a person who reviews accounts of companies. So they ensure that all these records are legal and valid. They're basically the checkers, the people who check the accounts of large businesses. A broker, so if you ever watched Wolf of Wall Street, then you'll know a broker is pretty much a middleman, right? So if I was a person who want to invest in shares or invest in bonds and stuff like that, I may not have the skills to do that. So I'll hire a broker to invest my money for me. So they're pretty much the middleman, right? Pretty much middleman. And then the more important one, I think, important careers you might seek is become an entrepreneur. So if you have a business idea that's very special that you don't think anybody else, the market has, you might want to become a business person, right? Instead of saying business person, we call these people entrepreneurs. You might have heard that if you've done commerce. So with all these careers, I started with, so I was a human resource manager once. So I started with my tertiary education, which was my Bachelor of Business. So I did a Bachelor of Business in UTS. A renamed of this course is Bachelor of Commerce. So that's run in Sydney Uni, UNSW, Macquarie Universities. These are the top-notch business schools. So Bachelor of Business, Bachelor of Commerce, pretty much the same thing, right? If you want something that's a bit more simple, so then you'll consider the management courses in TAFE. But with all these uni degrees, your business studies course is totally relevant. For example, when I was in doing Bachelor of Business, my first year, the subjects were foundation subjects. So I remember my first few subjects were managing people and organizations. So that's all about management of people. So in a way, it's human resources. The other foundational subject is marketing. We also did something about finance. So that's also in there too. And we even considered the operations subject. So your first year of uni is basically your basics for your whole course. And then when you get to third, maybe second year, third year, then you choose your majors. This is what you want to specialize in. Now, my major was marketing because I wasn't good at numbers, but I loved the idea of promoting new products, right? So I majored in marketing and I also majored in human resources. So that was my two majors. So I found that the year 12 course of business studies really helped me. So basically the first year of uni was pretty much revision of your year 12 business studies course. So first year of uni was year 12 business studies. So I really suggest if you are considering one of these careers or one of these uni degrees, I would suggest considering business studies. Because if you have a look at the HSC course, it's actually arranged neatly with operations, marketing, finance, and human resources. These are all your basic functions that you will learn in your Bachelor of Business. And these are all the topics that it's relevant if you want to become a business person in general. Let's go into a little bit more detail. So if we look at the Year 11 course, you'll see some of these main topics. Now, these aren't all the main topics, but just some of them, just to give you a taster, right? The first dot point is the role of business. So in Year 11, first thing when you come in, we explain to you, business is not just about creating profit. Obviously, that is your main objective for any business, right? To create profit. But you also know that, well, businesses hire people. So businesses also create employment for the community. It also creates a range of products, because as one business try to compete with another business, obviously they have to make their product differentiated, like they have to make the product stand out. So as businesses compete with other businesses, new and exotic products get created so that the public enjoys a range of products, not just the same boring products over and over again. So that's the first topic. We'll give you like a quick introduction about what business is about. And it's not just about profit, right? It does a lot more for the community. Then we have to consider the different types of businesses. So if it's just like a news agency, maybe in corner of Cabramatta, they may be a sole trader. So this is one owner that's running the whole store. Like you might have a few employees, but the main decision maker is the sole trader. Now, if it's slightly larger, so it might be, let's say a grocery store, or let's say it's a restaurant. Well, one owner may not have enough finances to start and might not have enough time to run the business. So you might have a partner. So partnership is a second legal structure we look at. But hold on a second. If we want to grow our business, well, we need money to grow the business. So what do? So we start listing our business onto the share market. So we sell part ownership to different people. As we sell little bits of our business to other people, they pay us money. So we call this process incorporation. So basically, we'll make a business into a large company. And as people buy our shares, they give us money. We use this money, invest it back into business, and grow the business, right? So look at different legal structures. So just to give you the basics of business. And then, well, hold on a second. Now, so far, we know what businesses do in society. We know what types of businesses are there. Now we need to know what affects businesses in terms of the environment. So if you've done a little bit of commerce, you realize that there's something called the economic cycle or the business cycle. So for example, right now, because of COVID, we might be heading into a recession. Basically, people in public tend to spend less. Why? Because they're nervous about society. They're nervous about their own employment. They're nervous whether businesses will still be running. They are nervous whether they will still receive an income. So they tend to spend less. Well, as people spend less, well, businesses make less profit. That is an influence. So businesses these days are focused on more so value, because they know people, they're not cheap, but they're looking for something of value because they need to spend the money wisely in these times of uncertainty. So we'll look at different influences on the business. Then, so that really shows the connection between business studies and another subject, which is economics. So if you're considering economics, you should consider business studies because they relate with each other. So economics is more about how a country is run. So the supply and demand, about the consumers, about the major players, such as the government, right? But in business studies, we want to know how does economic influences affect our business? So we're looking from within a business. We're looking almost at a manager's perspective. Okay, so that's pretty much a bit of a taster for the 11 course. We also go into the history of management. How did management, the philosophy of management, where did it come about? So we look at the three different approaches, right? So there's something called classical management. This is your old school, like your original management style. In year 10 geography, you should have learned, or you should have heard of the term industrial revolution. So we talk about businesses actually using steam-powered engines and creating products from factories. So this is the first time in a long while, because most of the products back in the day were made domestically within a home. This is the first time in history that there's large mass production happening in a factory. Well, no one really knew how to manage large groups of employees. So this dude by the name of Frederick Taylor came up with the idea of scientific management. He was basically an engineer, right? So he came in, he was a scientist. He tried to figure out the best way of manufacturing or producing something. And then he pretty much taught this process to all his employees, right? Then other people added to his theory. They used a hierarchical structure, basically having a boss and having all these employees follow him. But you guys know that an effective boss can't just communicate one way. We need to communicate with employees too. That's when the behavioral management theory came about. So this theory treats employees like humans that ask for their opinion during decision making. And there was this really cool story, right? The story goes, it was in a factory, and the managers called in an expert to come in, and the expert goes, okay, why don't we interview staff, see what they want in the work environment, maybe we can cater to it. If we cater to it, maybe their productivity would increase. So most of the staff goes, well, it's pretty dark in here, bro. Can we please turn on some lights so we can work effectively? So that's this Hawthorne effect here. So they turned on lights, made the place brighter. And then, yeah, the productivity skyrocketed. But they had a query. What if we turn off the lights? What would happen to the productivity? It was just an experiment, right? Turns out, even if they turn off the lights, they were still productive. That doesn't make sense. But they came up with a theory. It wasn't because of the lights that they were productive. It was because the managers were paying attention to them. As long as we're paying attention to our staff, then they'll become productive. So the behavioral management theory came about. It's about communicating with staff, treating them like humans, and allowing them to form teams and relationships. So work wasn't just boss, employee. It was about working in teams, working as a unit, if you have, right? Treating your employees like humans, caring about them, building relationships. But that's not good enough. These days, in the environment, you heard of the term globalization in geography. All businesses, all economics, all economies are connected. If one thing happens in part of the country or part of the world, other parts are also affected. So we need to be adaptable and flexible. Then came the contingency theory. Basically, use whatever management theory works as long as it helps with the situation. So we have 3 different management approaches. Now, if that interests you, right, and really awesome management theories, again, we learn these theories, same theories, in uni as well. So we talked about this as well. So again, it's good basics for your uni degree if you're considering a business or commerce degree in the future. And then in year 11, we give you a quick taster of what year 12 is about. So we have the 3 key business functions. The easiest way to think about this is, well, a business needs to create a product before we sell it. So that's operations. So think factories, think machinery, think how we change a piece of wood into a table. That's operations, right? But then we need to promote it, right? We need to come up with a price, come up with where we want to sell it. And that's marketing. That's your 4 Ps, your price, your place, your product, and your promotion, right? But do we need money to run a business? Of course we do. Then we study the different ways to finance our business. Do we borrow from a bank? That's debt financing. Or do we sell part of our business shares to the public to generate funds to run the business? That's equity financing. So that's finance, right? But obviously, we can't just have money in the business. We need people to actually do the jobs. So we start hiring people, and that's human resources here. So that's a quick taster that we have in year 12. Your year 12 course is basically organized in these 4 functions. Let's have a deeper look then, right? So in human resources, the easiest way to think about it is step one, we hire the people. We figure out what type of people we need. So for example, in social science faculty, we might need a new geography teacher. So that's something we need to recruit, right? We need to recruit a new geography teacher. We might list it online. We might hire from within. So the principal might stand up on a teacher's meeting and say, hey man, we need a new teacher. Anybody want to do it, right? And then we select from them. We select the best candidates. Obviously, Mr. Tran's the best candidate. And then once we hire them, we have to train them. We train them in the skills, maybe teaching skills, maybe the geography syllabus. And then we develop and maintain them. How do we motivate Mr. Tran? Maybe we'll give him pay rise. Maybe we give to him a car park spot, right? So then that comes to the maintenance stage as well. But if Mr. Tran is not performing his job, then unfortunately there's a separation stage. We must fire him. That's involuntary separation, all right? Or Mr. Tran might find a better job elsewhere. That's voluntary separation. So it's basic concepts, but we'll look at it in a more effective way. How do we use strategies within each of these stages to improve the business? So that's human resources, all about humans and using them as resources. What do we do effectively, right? And then it goes to the finance part. Now, you might think we need to know a lot of maths for finance. No, you don't. It's pretty much plus minus, times and divide. That's it. That's what we use, right? So we look at, in year 11, we only look at the statements. We don't analyze it as much, right? So we will figure out what is an asset. So asset is something a business owns. Liability, what a business owes. So what do we owe to? So do we borrow money? Do we owe our suppliers money? So we look at business statements here. As you can see, it's perfect basics for accounting. It's pretty much accounting. It's the beginnings of accounting. So if you ever want to, become an accountant, or if your parents think that's a good idea to become an accountant, this is definitely the basics you want to consider. And if you do Bachelor of Business, this is definitely one of the foundation subjects that you will learn in Bachelor of Business in the first year of uni, right? So yes, we need to figure out whether money comes from borrowing, that's debt financing, or do we sell shares, or do we allow our owners to chip in our business, contribute to our business? And that's equity financing. Obviously, there's advantage and disadvantage of both. So that's finance, right? But we need factories to actually make the product. So a good way that I explained to year 11s last year was to think about the photocopier room. What do we use to make booklets? So geography booklets, whatever booklets, right? And whatever topic there is. Obviously, we use paper. These are your inputs, right? Your more raw materials. We use paper, we use staples. That's your raw materials. Do we use human resources? Of course we do. It's the photocopy ladies that do the work. Do we use technology? Of course, the photocopy machines, right? Do we use information? Of course, your teachers research about your topic and make it into the booklet. True. That's your inputs. It's what we use to make the product. What about the transformation stage? The transformation stage is the actual changing of the inputs. The paper is printed. The paper is stapled together. The information is added onto the paper. This is your transformation stage. It's the actual changing of the product. And then the end product is the output. By product, we talk about two things. It could be a good and a service. It's not just clean, clear, good, right? Think about it. You go to a restaurant. You don't just sit there and eat food. You might think that, but not really. You also experience the customer service coming from the waiter, right? So yeah, so you use things as inputs, you change them, and you create a final product. That's the whole operation system that you just learned in 5 minutes. Of course, we'll go into a little bit more details about things, but that's just a big general gist of operations, right? Now, if you think about marketing, well, in year 11, it's 4 Ps. You come up with a product. Well, what do I want on my product? Do I want lasers coming out of it? I don't know, right? Do I want it to target a specific target market? Do I want to target maybe young teenagers where they have this new culture of drinking boba tea, right? So we create a product that matches the market. Then we come with the pricing. Should I price it like Gongcha, like any other boba product brand? Or should we price it a little bit higher because it's high quality? We have to make that decision. Then we have to decide, do I want this product to be available everywhere? Do I want to be limited to one place to make it seem more prestigious? I don't know. How do we advertise it? That's promotion, right? So yeah, advertisement is more about mass marketing, right? But could we also use sales promotion? So could we have a discount card for people who come regularly? Could we have personal selling? Could we have a person walk up to you so you can trial the boba tea to have a taste, right? And you can have a feedback with that salesperson. That's personal selling. So we come up with all these strategies in marketing to promote our product as well. But in obviously in year 12, you get an extra 3 Ps. So it's actually 7 Ps. But that's more for a global business, right? More service business if you have. Yes, there's no point in talking about theory if we don't actually apply it to a practical situation. That's why we try to run excursions to Luna Park. We look at the 4 functions, so operations, finance, human resources, marketing. We look at how Luna Park is ran, right? And in year 12, we look at how this ice cream shop is run. These become real case studies you can use for your business studies exam and your business studies essays. This becomes the case studies and evidence of it. So it's not just talking about theory on paper. We actually get to explore all these business concepts in real life. So you understand the concepts even more, and it's totally relevant, right? And then there are always going to be interactive activities in the course. Remember, in operations, we talk about input, transformation, output. Well, we do sometimes use this pancake activity where we use obviously maple syrup, pancake mix. That's your input. Transformation, well, you have to mix it, you have to cook it, you have to pan fry it. I don't know how pancakes are made. You get the point, right? That's the transformation stage. And at the end, you get the final product, the output. So we always try to make our theories practical so you can understand it in a practical, real life way, not just on paper, not just on paper. Now, the cool thing about business studies is you have resources already done for you. In Kellyville High School, we've been teaching business studies that long that we came up with videos. So not only you have teacher face-to-face teaching in a classroom, but you also have teaching online. So Mr. Brown has created a clip for each of the syllabus dot points. So when you get to year 12, maybe you are struggling with making notes, don't stress. Mr. Brown has created videos for you to refer to use as year 12 resources and year 12 notes. So we already got this done for you. Your resources are pretty much sorted if you choose this subject. So just to remind you that I totally recommend business studies for you if you are considering this career or even in general. Because I have a mate who studied Bachelor of Business and he did a double degree. So he did IT as well, because no IT person works outside of business. They usually work for a business. So it's good to understand how a business functions. Again, business studies would help you with that, right? So hopefully that clarified a few things about your business studies course, and hopefully you consider business studies. If you have any other questions about the course, please come up to social science, or if you bump into me or any other social science teacher, have a quick chat. And I hope you choose business studies for your preliminary and your HSC subject. Have a great day, Year 10.